I'm dying for an update on your friend Jimmy, the Bellevue landlord.
Yes.
So we reported he got a $47,000 check, courtesy, I think, of the taxpayers, to help cover this back rent that's owed.
That has been proposed. It is. I talked to him this morning about this. So that has been proposed. It's what he has been told is coming. It is supposed to come next week. This is a check that's being stroked by the Housing Justice Project. So you did hear correctly, but he has not seen it yet, but was not planned until next week.
Yeah, it was in some sort of like court filing, like a photocopy of it. So like maybe they photocopied it and then they're going to mail it to him. I don't know.
Maybe it's like one of those big, fantasy checks
Yes.
that you get.
Here you go.
Yeah. And then
Here's
you get,
all the money they
right,
owed.
and then you get the real one. So yes, that is supposed to happen.
Yeah, and there's still been protests every Saturday. You've gone to at least one more of them, right?
I have actually been to all three.
You have?
I've been to all three. I haven't been able to attend the entire time the last 2 weeks, but I've been there to show my support to Jimmy and his family.
Do you feel like those protests are having any sort of effect on the tenant/squatters' desire to stay there?
I think it's got to. I think
Has
it's
to.
got to at some point. It's just, he's there with his family. You know, that's got to be affecting his family. I
do feel bad for the kids.
I do too. I absolutely feel bad for the kids. At some point, somebody drove out of the driveway and, people were cheering for them. I don't know if they were cheering.
Yes.
Cheering, letting them know that, that we were there. Yeah. I think that it is working, and I think that it is having an effect.
Yeah. Do you think that we're seeing sort of not only with this case, but just nationally, all these stories, some sort of breaking point that could improve the situation for landlords?
I sure hope so. I think that we're getting close, because you are now hearing other stories like this, and it's kind of happened all at once. And Jimmy's has been a pretty big deal, because it's been local, it's been national, it's been international. You've been hearing stuff out of Chicago, you've been hearing stuff out of New York as well. And every time I talk to him, I just encourage him to keep going, because it's got to make a difference. And I just can't think of many other people that would have gotten this amount of attention or been willing to do what he has done.
Is he still feeling like, is he still in the fight, or is this wearing on him, or is he like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my thing?
He's in it. He wants more than anything else, he wants to see change happen. So he is in it for him, but he's also in it for the bigger picture of, really we're talking about the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah. Well, if he gets that eventually check in the mail and decides to cash it, that still doesn't get the guy out of his house, right?
That's the problem with this.
Okay.
So, and that's the hang up. And this is what people really need to recognize. Like, yes, Jimmy is going to be made whole for his rent. It's still not going to touch the stress, and all of the hours that he has into this, and what that's caused, his attorney fees. But what it does is it just gets him back to square one. There is no path forward that the Housing Justice Project, is providing. It's just, we will get him caught up. Okay, well then what? Then does Jimmy have to start eviction again? Is he just going to magically start paying his rent? It hasn't happened so far, so I can't imagine that it does. In another 12 months, does Jimmy get another check of taxpayer dollar? Certainly doesn't seem like the right use of funds.
No.
And, it's not really justice for the rest of us. It's not, the real justice would be if, he's proven that he can't pay rent, is to go help him find something that, he can afford. And maybe the Housing Justice Project should co-sign for him for the next year or two.
I think that's a great idea.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
And you're right. It's like, it doesn't teach him anything.
No.
Or if you can squat somewhere for 2 years, again, I go back to able-bodied man, could go out and seek employment if he really had an issue paying his bills, which I just don't think is the case. But so now the taxpayers cut a check and he's just like, oh, well, I got that for free for 2 years off the backs of, my neighbors. It's insane.
It is insane, and it's worked for him so far, so why wouldn't it moving forward? And, you talked about able-bodied man, one of the articles that came out, one of the international articles, talked about him and his wife making $400,000 in a recent year. So the money's there.
Money's there. Yeah. He just doesn't want to cough it up, and he's using the system. Well, you're a good friend, and you're now, you went to your first protest, and now you've forayed into three or four of them?
We're on number 3, and I don't know what the plans are moving forward, but I'll check this out, Brandi. When I was talking to Jimmy today, he said that he is getting some pressure to not continue with them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, like,
Where's the pressure coming from?
He doesn't want to say, but it's political pressure.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure that Moncadingra, I'm sure that all the East Side Democrats are out there like, oh, you're a terrible person.
He is being told that it is not helping his case.
Well, why? So they're going to hold it against him that he's protesting and that's not helping his case? What else? It's so crazy.
They've left it at that. You know, it sounds like a mild threat.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
So, well, good for him for standing there and for his friends standing by him.
That's right. Hang in there, Jimmy. Keep fighting the fight.
I agree.
I want to see him get his money back, and I want to see him make some change because this system needs it.